Hey, everybody, it's Friday, and we are very excited to be part of some fun stuff here. And that, of course, is, oh man, the college football playoffs, which were last night and tonight. And then, of course, we have a full weekend of nothing but outstanding action with the NFL. Before we get to anything, Matthew, let's make our friends at the AI Clips happy by starting off with last night's Miami win over an Ole Miss team.
Yeah, I'll start with this. Why did Miami winning that football game, especially in the fashion that they did, all of a sudden, render the SEC irrelevant? I don't get where that's coming from. Ole Miss had a lead with 19 seconds left in that football game until Carson
Mm-hmm.
Beck walked across the plane of the end zone. Um, wasn't like it was a blowout or anything. To be honest with you, I thought it was going to be a blowout in that first half.
Mm-hmm.
Miami controlled that football game in a way that I honestly kind of thought they were going to, but that second half from Ole Miss really surprised me. Um, the credit is due to Miami's defense, though. Really, what Ole Miss did against Georgia
Mm-hmm.
that ultimately led to them winning was they stopped Georgia from scoring touchdowns in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing happened last night with Miami. Ole Miss would drive deep into their territory. Maybe they didn't reach the red zone every time, but they would get these deep drives into Miami territory, and they ended in field goals is what they ended in instead of
Right.
touchdowns. That's where you saw they had the big Keywan Lacey touchdown. That was the explosive to start the game for them, really. And then after that, it was field goals. They got to 10, 13, 16, 19 field goals,
Mm-hmm.
four
Right.
straight field goals. So a big credit's due to Miami's defense. I also think some credit is due to Ole Miss's kicker because he put on a heck of a show last night as well.
100%. Here's some of the things that struck me as the game unraveled, and that was, is this going to be another one of those Miami screw ups where look at how many drives that in that game that Miami kept alive by stupid penalties. I mean, two of them were what was it? In the same drive, they had a targeting, and then they had a unnecessary roughness. I mean, so look. First of all, the SEC is not irrelevant. Second of all, Miami almost shot themselves in the foot to the point where they lost that football game.
Yeah, absolutely. On the targeting call,
Mm-hmm.
I
There were
do
two of
not
them
get it.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I don't get how you can call one of those targeting and the other one not targeting.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was helmet to helmet contact, but you didn't have the launch indicator, so that made it not
Mm-hmm.
targeting. The other one just wasn't helmet to helmet contact, but it was still deemed a defenseless receiver in contact to the head or neck area.
Mm-hmm.
To my understanding, it was contact regardless of a launch indicator.
Right.
By definition, I believe the rule is contact to the head or neck area of a defenseless player constitutes targeting. How
Right.
did that first call against Ole Miss not constitute targeting? I don't care if you're talking about intent. It feels like they've never brought intent into it at all, because if they brought intent to it, that wouldn't have happened in the Georgia game. They wouldn't have had their safety tossed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the most recent example I have of it. There's tons of other examples in college football where the intent was never to hit the guy above the head or neck area.
Right.
That's just kind of the level that he dropped to. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's a bit of an unfortunate timing in the way that you're hitting the guy. I hate the rule. It needs
Mm-hmm.
to be reformed. And every chance I get, I'm going to talk about it because it's probably the most broken thing in college football right now. And that's saying a lot given the transfer portal and the way the schedule works.
Right. Right. Um, I thought Miami played the defense, like you said. I thought they played well. Um, for the most part, Carson Beck, I thought, did pretty well. But they just, again, self-inflicted wounds. And I don't want to take anything away from Ole Miss. I mean, they played their butts off and
Mhm.
almost came out of there with a win. Even if they'd have tied it, we wouldn't have, who knows what would happen. So Miami advances. And tonight we got Oregon and Indiana. And we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah. I also want to attack something else. I don't know where
Sure.
this like this embattled or mistreated. Embattled, I'll give him embattled. But this mistreated Carson Beck stuff comes from. They called it a mutual parting of ways. I think they were both ready to move on at their stage, at the stage in Carson's career.
You're talking about Georgia now, right?
Yeah, because I mean, you would have thought that we just tossed him out on the stoop like we left him at the front step of the firehouse,
right,
hoping somebody else would take him. Like that's not. He got $4.5 million to go play football at Miami. Like it's not. He's a really good football player. It's a really good story, and I'm really glad to see him battle back from injury the way he has. And he played fantastic last night when they needed him most.
Right.
But we got to get rid of this narrative that Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit were pushing last night. Like Carson Beck is some poor little old Carson Beck. Look at what they did to him at Georgia.
Well, yeah, I mean I never understood that part of the story that they were talking about. In large part because he won two rings with Georgia. I don't think anybody treated him poorly at Georgia. It didn't seem like it. He never said it. So, he had opportunity. If Carson Beck wanted to say something, he was always, at least what I've read in the press and what I've seen on television, he was always, he had thanked probably Kirby Smart 150 times. I mean, it wasn't like, he said, and it wasn't like he was against going to Georgia. He just said that he thought that, it was a time to move on. They had their set situation, and he felt that, his best interest would be served to move somewhere else. He didn't necessarily, at that point, he didn't necessarily say Miami, but obviously that's where it ended up. But no, I have not seen anywhere where there's a credible reporting that Carson Beck and Georgia left on bad terms. I have not seen a single credible article about it.
Yeah, and it was just to replay the situation. He was a guy who entered the draft, like from Georgia after the season was over. He entered the draft process. This is actually the second year in a row that Miami's done this philosophically, where they had a guy that was in the draft and they offered him enough money to pull him out of the draft. Also, I can't say this with 100% certainty because I've had nobody with actual like I don't have a source that's told me this 100% or whatever. But to my understanding, the way Kirby Smart operates that program, there's never going to be a quarterback that makes $4.5 million while Kirby Smart is the head coach of Georgia. It's just not going to happen. You're not getting that payday there. So I don't know where this narrative came from. He was a guy that was in the draft. He really had limited communication with the University of Georgia after he entered the draft, and didn't really have any communication when it came to entering the portal with the University of Georgia.
Well, my understanding, I mean, and this is what happens, right? People get on social media. They start pushing whatever narrative they want to push. The problem being that sometimes credible organizations glom onto it. In this case, I don't think that was the case. I think this was a totally made up fantasy story from, the keyboard warriors out there who wanted to post stuff. And if you're reading, your Xstream or Instagram or whatever, wherever you choose to get your content, it's usually coming from somebody who does not have any interest in how they picked this thing up or created it or made it. They just retweet it or they rewrite it or they work it out. But at the end of the day, as I said, I cannot find, we're talking about Ross Dellinger. We're talking about, some of the top writers who follow college, and not a single one of them said nothing in the ABJ, nothing, in the Miami Herald. And there's good people down there. Greg Cody down at the Herald, fantastic columnist. A number of great columnists up at the ABJ. Nothing. And these people cover these guys, like a blanket. So I don't get where it's coming from.
Yeah, I think that's and this is something that I'm not going to get too far off of because we got a lot of other stuff to get to today.
Sure.
I think it's part of the problem that ESPN has right now is their headlines and their storylines and they want something that's going to grab your attention and get your clicks, as opposed to doing actual journalistic work. Like I have no ill will towards Kirk Herbstreit or Chris Fowler or anybody on that game day crew, but it is a completely made up narrative that they really took and ran with last night.
Let's move on to Indiana and Oregon tonight. Yesterday we touched on it briefly, that from your standpoint, and I tend to agree, that you'll believe Indiana will lose when Indiana loses. And if paraphrasing, and what Dan Lanning in Oregon, and you had mentioned, and I think that this is a statement game for Oregon. Okay, they got beat at their own house, which is not an easy thing to do, by a very talented Indiana team. I'm not sure that college football, and specifically on this, the gang at ESPN or that group, is willing to accept Indiana as a potential national champion.
Yeah, they've been. I mean, all things point to a rather bullish nature the way that most of the national media has handled Indiana, in terms of the football team that they are. I'll be honest with you. I kept kind of waiting on it throughout the season. After they beat Ohio State, I stopped waiting on it. I wanted to see them do that, and once they did that, it felt like it kind of cemented everything that they had done throughout the regular season. It put that capstone on it. Maybe they shouldn't have had to do that throughout the body of work that they had in season. But for my eyes and in my mind, the belief, I needed to see them beat Ohio State. They did it. Listen, they have the best coaching staff in the country, I think, just as a whole, in terms of the game prep they do throughout the week. And I have to see somebody beat them. I know it's hard to beat a good team twice. Nick Saban said it last night. I just don't think that matters. This seems like another hurdle and just another obstacle in the way,
right,
for Curt Cignetti and a guy who's been laser focused all year, regardless of opponent.
Yeah, and the other part of this equation, which to me is interesting, is that the entire ecosystem of the Big Ten is focused on Michigan and Ohio State. You can't be as good as Michigan. You can't be as good as Ohio State. And God knows Indiana can't be as good as Ohio State or Michigan. Now that they've proven that, I'm not so certain that they still want to believe it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy to do. Like the levels of I know you threw Michigan in there, but it's really been Ohio State in terms of a consistency standpoint. When it comes to the success, really over the past 2 decades in football, like Ohio State has been the standard in the Big Ten. You're not used to seeing new blood come in and knock Ohio State off. Like I remember how big of a deal it was when Penn State beat them in 2016. Michigan State when they went on their run in the mid 2010s, it was big when they were doing that too. It was massive when Michigan beat them as many times in a row as they are. Like you can come up, like programs come up and down throughout the Big Ten, but they're still measured against Ohio State. And that's the same way Indiana is going to be. And they're better than Ohio State this year, but if they want to consider themselves on the same level, they're going to have to build some consistency with this thing, which all signs point to them doing, by the way.
The reason I brought Michigan into this equation is because a sizable portion of the media either graduated from Michigan or have ties to Michigan. So it's the Ohio State-Michigan, I'm not going to say rivalry because that's not what it's the narrative that they're the 2 best programs in the conference. It doesn't matter who else does well. And as you said, I mean, Ohio State has always been, the leader of that pack. And, recently Michigan's gotten into it. But at the end of the day, they're going to have to accept the fact that Indiana's good.
Yeah, listen, in terms of a program right now, Indiana is the second best program in the
Mhm,
Big Ten. I don't have, to be quite frankly honest, I don't have a lot of respect for what Michigan's done over the past few years.
mhm,
They were average with Jim Harbaugh, and until they got Connor Stallions in that building and they started their, deciphering their signs, they
mhm.
can defend that however they want to. And then after Jim Harbaugh left, they returned right back to average. So no, I don't have a ton of respect for what Michigan's done in terms of being a top program in the Big Ten because they haven't done it. Like they really haven't done it. Aside from that little run they had in the 2020s, which
Mhm.
was you can just blatantly see like the start and the end point of when
Mhm.
that sign stealing scandal started
Right.
and how it correlates to their success in those years. And outside of that, they haven't had success. Really in a long time. So I don't hold them to a same standard. I think what Indiana is doing right now is tenfold more impressive than what Michigan did while Jim Harbaugh was there.
Yeah, but my point is not that who's playing well. Okay,
Hmm.
forget that. This has forever been the Big Ten has forever been the Big Two and a little late when they were basically that. And I say that because the amount of press that these two programs get, and I'm not forget the actual play on the field. All right,
Yeah.
that
Oh
never.
yeah. In terms of yeah,
I'm
press
talking
and
about the
brand.
branding of these two
Yeah.
teams. The branding of these two teams, the ratings they get at that end of the season game when they play each other, regardless of how what the records are, uh, is amazing. So I'm not disputing in any way, shape, or form what you're talking about
Mhm.
as their ability to play on the field. That's not my question. My theory of the case is you can if you stand in Big Ten offices or anywhere else around the Big Ten media, it's always Michigan, Ohio State. Doesn't matter
Mhm.
who else is even good. I mean, and even Ohio State and Michigan cannot be good, but
Mhm.
they're still going to get the benefit of the doubt from the outside world. And as I said, your points all fairly taken,
Yeah.
and who's been dominant and who's not. But even now you've got the Big Two and a little remainder, and I know that Indiana's pushing hard to get into the conversation, and I wish them well in getting there.
Mhm.
But that
Yeah.
narrative is hard to beat.
It is. You're right. In terms of a brand, Michigan is the second biggest brand
Hmm.
in the Big Ten. There is that, but Indiana's alumni base is nothing to scoff at either.
No.
And if they continue this success, I think they'll be able to build a brand that could be. And now, granted, it takes sustained success over a long period of time in order to build that brand, but they have the ability to with
Hmm.
that alumni base and backing. Because I think Kurt Signetti's not young by any measure,
Right.
um, but the financial investment that they've made into this football program is
Hmm.
going to make it a place that people want to come coach at after Kurt Signetti is done there as well.
Sure. And heaven knows how long. I mean, you may stay for much longer than that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's fly over to the NFL tomorrow, 4:30, Fox TV, Rams Panthers. That's what's getting us off. I think the Rams take this game. I mean, yeah, the Panthers beat them, in Carolina, earlier in the season, but I don't see the Rams losing to Panthers.
The Rams are 10.5 point favorites in this game.
I'm
And
not sure. I'm not sure I would take that, but yeah, okay.
yeah, like that's for the playoffs. That's an unprecedented line.
Hmm.
Really, like you want to complain about the college football playoffs. That's fine. This is
Hmm.
also a rather glaring issue in the NFL as well.
Hmm.
10.5 point favorites ridiculous. Carolina really shouldn't be hosting Los Angeles, but they are
Hmm.
because they won a division. Yeah, I find it hard to believe that they're going to win this game. Same thing I mentioned with Indiana and Oregon. It's hard to beat a good team twice. Same thing goes here. It's hard to beat a good team twice, especially when your team is significantly worse in terms of talent discrepancy, which Carolina is.
Yeah. All right, rematch tomorrow night, primetime on Prime Video. 8 p.m. is your kickoff. Packers and the Bears. It seems like every other week the Packers and the Bears have been playing each other. I know it says it hasn't been that way, but it seems that way. Packers and Bears. This is going to be interesting. This Bears team has played well at times. The Packers have been banged up. What do you think? They're playing at Soldier Field in Chicago in prime time in what will be cool weather, no doubt. And the Packers and the Bears are one of the original rivalries in the National Football League.
Yeah, you said it feels like they're playing every other week. They played twice in December.
That's what made it seem like they're playing.
Yeah, that's why it feels like it. Both their in-season matchups pretty evenly matched. Packers won by 7 at home. Bears won by 6 in overtime at home. Really, that's a game that I feel like the Packers still kind of let get away from them in Soldier Field. This is a test. I don't know how much I really do trust the Chicago Bears to win. I really don't. Like there's something to be said for playoff experience, and I think it's going to matter here between Green Bay and Chicago. I don't think necessarily Green Bay is equipped to go on a run, but if there's a team that can knock Chicago out of the playoffs early, you want to talk about a team that make it hurt getting knocked out of the playoffs early if you're Chicago, it's the Green Bay Packers. I don't know. I know Jordan Love's health was in question kind of throughout the end of the year. So I don't know to what extent he's healthy. But I think I'm going to pick the Packers mainly because they almost beat the Bears in Soldier Field with Malik Willis playing quarterback.
Right.
And that's not a knock on Malik Willis, but he's also not Jordan Love.
Sure. No question about it. I like the way the Bears are playing. I think they're a year away. And so I would definitely agree with you on that one. Let's move over to Sunday, and we've got a triple header on Sunday. And that would be actually we've got triple header. No. 1, 2, 3. We got the Bills and the Jags at 1. We got the Eagles and the 49ers at 4:30. And then we have the Chargers. Okay, there we go. So we do have 3 games tomorrow. Bills, Jaguars, 1 p.m. The Bills probably the most experienced team in the playoffs at this point in the AFC. And the Jaguars, who played, very decent, outstanding football for Liam Cohen in his first year as head coach there. But they don't have as much experience as the Bills do. But the game's been played in Jacksonville. So, this one to me might be the upset.
Yeah, it's very possible. I think it's hard to go on the road and win. I also think you talked about the playoff experience for the Jaguars, and that matters. But I feel like at their quarterback position, he's not been in the NFL playoffs, but he was in the college football playoffs. I'm 98% sure every single year he was a college starter at Clemson. That matters. He's felt that kind of game pressure before, and he's handled that game pressure really well. People forget they had a lead on that 2019 LSU team in that national title game way back when. But,
we're talking about Trevor Lawrence.
Yes. Talking about Trevor Lawrence. So he's got a certain type of playoff pedigree. Granted, it came in college, but I trust him to handle that game pressure fairly well. They've been a really good team, especially in the second half of this season. People forget they handled the Broncos at home. Like 34-20, they beat them by 14. They've been handling their opponents really for most of the second half of this season. And I have no reason to pick against them. The Buffalo Bills have been a rather shaky group, all things considered, throughout the season. I know they finished strong against the Jets. They played well. They played their starters, this, that, and the other. But you look through
the Jets.
Yeah, you look through their results towards the end of this season. Texans, they lost by 4. They handled the Steelers. They won by 5 against the Bengals. They won by 4 against the Patriots. They won by 3 against the Browns. They lost by 1 to the Eagles. And then obviously what they did to the Jets. Like, these games have been really close games.
Yeah.
It's not always the best competition. And they haven't always came out on top either in those games. I have questions about Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, and a lot of it stems, again, from that wide receiver room. I don't trust that wide receiver room enough to have them go on a run and win a Super Bowl. I just don't. I don't see it. I don't love their defense either. It's been spotty at best. They've had some significant injuries on that side of the football. That's nothing to scoff at either. So, yeah, just looking at it, they're missing. I look at the injury report. They got a defensive tackle out. DeMar Hamlin's out. Linebacker Terrell Bernard's out. And then they got 2 guys on offense, one of them being Dalton Kincaid, who's questionable, and Ty Johnson, I believe. Yeah, Ty Johnson, who's also questionable. So they have some significant injuries on that defensive side of the football. I don't trust the way this roster has been built in Buffalo enough to go on the road and win this playoff game.
By the way, that game can be streamed on Paramount Plus. It's going to be on CBS 1 o'clock. The mid-afternoon game at 4:30, the Niners at the Eagles. That's going to be on Fox. You can do a free trial on Fubo, or also on YouTube TV, and get your 7 days in and get the game in. The Niners Eagles, man, the Eagles have played horribly over the past few weeks, and yet still won. The Niners are banged up, and certainly, we saw some issues that they had whenever they played the Seahawks last week. But all that being said, man, I don't have a lot of faith in the Eagles.
The Eagles are 5.5-point favorites. I don't get that. I don't get where they got 5.5 from. What I will say is sports books aren't typically in the business of losing money.
Right.
So if they said it, they probably said it for a reason. But I just don't see it. I really don't. This is an Eagles offense that has been consistently bad. I would say consistently average. Let me rephrase that. They've been consistently average all year.
Sure.
So if you need an outstanding result from them to win this football game, can you get it? I don't really know. Maybe Jalen Hurts has done a really good job. He hasn't turned the ball over a lot. He's only thrown 6 picks on the year. But all things considered, he's been relatively average, like middle of the road average is what I would describe Jalen Hurts' season as. So can they get it done? Absolutely. Home field advantage is going to play a significant factor here.
Right.
San Francisco, last time they went there, they obviously suffered the injury to Brock Purdy on their run. But I don't know. I think 5.5 is a lot. I think if I'm picking this game, I trust the 49ers a lot more to get this job done than I do the Philadelphia Eagles. I just think there's a lot of dysfunction going on in Philadelphia in terms of that locker room. And will Nick Sirianni kind of be able to gather everybody back together and put them together for a playoff run? I don't know. I don't know if they're just going to be able to find that magic again, right? Miraculously.
True. The other thing is that the Niners went in yesterday to Philadelphia. They practiced over at Temple, and they, that was to get that, time difference situation straightened out. Yeah. So, and I do like Kyle Shanahan and what Kyle Shanahan can do. I think Christian McCaffrey's going to have a good day. I think George Kittle's back, right?
I believe so. Let's see here. He's listed as questionable.
Okay.
Given the questionable tag, I would probably list George Kittle as probable.
Probable, yeah. It will be by tomorrow anyway.
Yeah, based on that, because Trent Williams is also on the injury report as questionable. He's got a hamstring.
Right.
So if those 2 guys play, those are going to be big boosts for San Francisco, assuming that they can be 90% versions of themselves.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that I just think I trust right now. I trust the 49ers more than I trust the Eagles.
Yeah, I do too. They're 12-5, and they came from the best division in football this year. They're really close to that one seed. You know, they had to go to war with Seattle, and they had to go to war with Los Angeles, and they wound up with a better record than the Eagles, who are hosting and played in that god awful NFC East this year.
Let's jump over to the primetime game, streaming on Peacock on NBC. Chargers at the Pats. It's gonna be, Jimmy Harbaugh's had a good team, but I'm not sure they can get by this New England squad. New England's playing really good. Mike Vrabel's got them playing. This is definitely it's definitely going to be an interesting game. This has, if of all these games that we've talked about so far, this one I could see actually ending up in a 2-score game. I mean, I think the Patriots can beat the Chargers by at least 10 points, maybe more.
Yeah. Listen, Justin Herbert's turned the football over a lot this year. I remember coming into the season, I said they're going to go as far as Justin Herbert's arm will take them. If Justin Herbert comes out and he is playing fantastic football, he's not turning the ball over, he's making the right decisions every single time, then yeah, I think LA can win this game. I think LA could probably make a Super Bowl in that case. But I don't trust him to. Like the product of Justin Herbert that I've seen has been inconsistent. It's a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, 26-13. Drake May's 31-8. Drake May's thrown for almost 4,400 yards this year. Justin Herbert's got 3,700. I trust the running game of New England more. I trust the defense of New England more, especially with Mike Vrabel there. I think overall New England's just the better football team. They're playing at home. They're going to get that cold because it matters. That will matter. And I'm not sure if LA is ever going to thaw out up there.
Well, they also have a problem with the defense. They're missing a lot of guys on defense. And as much as we, I think the Patriots are for real. I think they're not a bad football team. And I think that, they earned the right to be considered one of the best teams in the AFC. So we'll see.
I will add this. It looks like they're going to get their guard Jared Wilson back. He's a rookie out of Georgia. That's big for them. Getting that continuity back on the offensive line, because I know they've kind of there's been some shuffle throughout the end of the year between Will Campbell and his health and Jared Wilson and his health. I think they've had a couple other guys that have kind of been in and out of the lineup in terms of the offensive line health. And so when they get these guys back, offensive line continuity means so much in football. Like it cannot be overstated just how important having an offensive line that is played together and is familiar with each other and is familiar with the quarterback as well, because it can get you in the right checks. It can pick up blitzes and get you your right run fits better than when you've just got to kind of makeshift your offensive line.
There's no question. I think that's going to be it's going to be a fun one to watch. That's for sure. Some interesting news just came across, and since you and I know a lot of our fans are also baseball fans, it looks like the Main Street and DAZN deal fell apart. So what Major League Baseball has done is they have told Main Street Sports that the teams involved, Major League Baseball teams involved in Main Street, are going to terminate their contracts. What does that mean for those of you in certain one? Well, obviously, you're in Atlanta. The St. Louis Cardinals, the Braves, the Reds, the Royals, the Tigers, the Mariners, and the Angels are working now to prepare for their exits. For some reason, and I have no idea why, the Tampa Bay Rays is the only MLB club at this point sticking with Main Street, according to multiple reports. It makes no sense, because if baseball is what? We're in early January. Baseball is less than a little over a month away. I'm talking about spring training. Putting together regional networks and making deals, man, you're pushing a lot on MLB TV.
Yeah.
To get that done. So, if you are a Brewers fan, a Reds fan, a Royals fan, a Tigers fan, Angels fan, Marlins fan, Braves fan, St. Louis Cardinals fan, man, you're going to have to, keep your head on a swivel and keep watching to see where these things go. Since MLB has taken these clubs over, if we use the Padres, Diamondbacks, and Colorado Rockies as your testing points. What they've done is they've taken a package of games and they put it on over-the-air television, and then the rest of them they've streamed. Now they have a streaming partner, which is ESPN, who is working on the regional aspect of it. So, what does that mean? Well, that means that ESPN will handle all the streaming of MLB television. MLB television will handle all the production, so the ball game, the games will be on locally. And right now, it just matters where are they going to, can they strike deals quick enough to get themselves in position so that when the first pitch on opening day comes out, that fans will be able to see it.
Yeah, Jim, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. I thought I read a report that said they were open for renegotiation as a potential avenue back. Obviously, that would take, mainstream sports actually selling to DAZN, which, I don't know if that's going to happen. At this point, I really doubt it's going to happen. But
according to Tom Friend, who's somebody I worked with for many years at the Sports Business Journal. He said basically, I'm quoting Tom now from his report in the SBJ, that talks between Main Street and DAZN have all but been extinguished. Main Street has decided that the terms were not terms they could live with, and so rather than continuing to negotiate, they basically said, "That's it." The crisis escalated yesterday afternoon when multiple MLB clubs formally terminated their contracts with FanDuel. So the fact of the matter is, Major League Baseball has terminated the contract with the old FanDuel networks, which of course is under the umbrella of Main Street Sports. So I don't see any renegotiation there.
No.
Basically, Major League Baseball, in a way, Major League Baseball got what they wanted. They wanted those local rights so they could sell a bigger package, and that's what they got. And I think that if I'm one of those clubs, do I want to wait and see if Main Street says they're going to shutter at the end of the NBA season or the NHL season? They're probably going to shutter faster than that. If you continue to miss payments, that's the way it goes. The fact was that DAZN was looking to reduce some of the payments and go in 50-50 on revenue sharing and that sort of thing. That was not, again, let's make sure that we understand this. It is not the clubs who said no to that. It was Main Street who said no to that. So, DAZN basically, for all intents and purposes, said, well, look, you're losing tons of money. We are going to give you money to take this over and see what we can do to fix it. And Main Street basically said no.
Yeah. Hey, listen, there's nothing like a little bit of pride to tear a company down at the seams. So I mean, that's exactly what you're dead broke, essentially trying to leverage yourself into a better deal. That's not going to happen. Everybody knows how broke you are. Like, it's public knowledge just how how little funds or lack thereof you have. Everybody knows that you've been defaulting on payments. So yeah, just go ahead and negotiate with them like you've got leverage. You don't have an ounce of leverage. So yeah, be prideful, let your company die.
Well, I mean, it's the insanity here, in my mind, personally, from a business of sports aspect, and I mean, and from someone who's been in this business of negotiating contracts. Um, I honestly don't understand why any of these Major League Baseball teams, or NBA basketball teams, or NHL franchises um, struck deals with Main Street after Diamond failed.
Mm-hmm.
What gives you the idea that that's going to happen? It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. It's shame, I would say, but I also think there are people, especially in some of these markets, that might be happy to have really just a change in broadcast.
Mm-hmm. Well, we will see, but keep your eyes and ears out, boys and girls, because Major League Baseball is about to take over um, a sizable chunk of fans. Now, those of you who are Red Sox fans, Yankee fans, Mets fans, Orioles fans, Dodger fans, um, I'm missing, yeah, Philadelphia, the Giants, they're all good. Those are club owned regional sports networks. So the majority of this of regionals will change. There's no question about that. But if you're in those areas where you've got the blue bloods, the Red Sox, Yankees, Dodgers, Phillies, Orioles, and the San Francisco Giants. Um, actually, even the Athletic deal. The Athletics also are involved. So for right now, they're okay. Everybody else is scrambling, and next year Pittsburgh will scramble because Nesson's deal is a 1 year deal with them. 1 year meaning 1 year left on the deal, I should say. And there's no guarantee that they're going to renew that deal.
I would bet that they probably aren't going to renew that deal just based on John Henry's ownership in the Pittsburgh Penguins was kind of what was driving that Nesson partnership. That's no longer there. So
So Fenway Sports will back out of that deal.
Yeah.
Well, it's not backing out; it's just basically letting it lapse.
Yeah.
It's letting it lapse is what they'll do. So, as a public service to all of our baseball fans out there, I thought it was important to mention that that Major League Baseball is taking on potentially 9 new franchises to go with the 3 they already have, and then the Nationals, who extricated themselves from Masson, would make the 10th. So there would be 10 baseball teams under the auspices of MLB TV. ESPN is serving as the negotiator to continue cable rights and put together the streaming package. And so there will be direct to consumer. That's not an issue. That will happen. What will happen is, on a local basis, will you have an option other than direct to consumer? Meaning direct to consumer, meaning from streaming services. Yeah. Normally, you would be watching them on cable for a lot of people. Some of them would be watching them on YouTube TV or whatever. Those negotiations have to go. I think that MLB was smart to go with ESPN in this case because ESPN does have a number of ways they can work that deal in with cable companies.
Yeah.
And satellite companies, plus also the streaming companies that do like YouTube TV that do basically they've cloned the cable concept of putting things together, and you can watch your local TV and other live content. So keep an eye out open for what's going on. Now, before we leave this afternoon, Matthew, my friend, you're going to be heading off to Hawaii and covering the Sony Open. very excited about that. Any initial thoughts before we get out of here on the kickoff, if you will? Since it's a football weekend, we'll use that phrase of the PGA Tour 2026, and you're going to be there for the opener, the Sony Open in Hawaii.
Yeah, I would say the Sony Open, just in terms, it's typically not, it's not going to have necessarily the same star-studded
Sure.
field that you're going to have at a lot of your signature events, your majors, stuff like that.
Right.
But man, there's a lot of really good golf that's going to be played out there in Hawaii. It's a little bit more of a relaxed tournament, I think, in terms of the vibe overall there. Surprisingly enough, when I was really little, my dad had taken me out on a trip out there. He'd won it through his company or whatever, and he took me out there, and we actually stayed at the resort that this tournament's being played at. So I thought that was cool. But yeah, there's reasons to tune in. Like, you've got guys like Luke Clanton, these younger players that you can get accustomed to. These guys that are really, you've got some guys that may not be big names, but are fighting for PGA Tour status, and this is an event that they've been invited to. So I'm really excited to get out there, do the best job that I can covering it.
Well, I'm sure you do fine. I think that one of the things that makes it interesting and fun for me is that we can watch primetime golf. You don't get to see that often, and because of the time difference, we actually will begin to be able to see that. And it's always a lot of fun. And I'm just trying here to. It's the Waialae Country Club in Honolulu. Is where it's going to be held, and you can watch it on ESPN. Yeah, it's going to be on. It's ESPN and DirecTV have it, so it's ESPN doing the broadcast. So there you go. We will be able to catch the Sony Open this time next week. We'll be able to watch it. So. That'll be cool. That'll be fun. All right, wait, we have a comment here before we get out. Oh, there you go. That's nice. There you go. Have a nice time. Thanks for the citation. So we don't know if we're gonna be able to do it, but we'll try. And that is we'll try to see what we can do and get some reports from Matt. I'm not promising because time differences are pretty wicked out there. But yeah. But we will be getting some content from him on the pages. So check that out. And then also when he gets back, I'm sure you'll have plenty of stories to tell about your trip out to Hawaii.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it a lot. Really, really looking forward to really getting to know. Again, it's something I've criticized the PGA Tour for before, but there's a lot of guys that a lot of people won't know out there, and I'm looking forward to kind of getting to know them and their games a little bit better.
Well, you'll get that chance up close and personal, and you'll be able to come back and tell us some of the people that we could. You're going to be able to see some guys who we might see a whole lot of coming up in the next couple of years, because that's also a tournament which has launched a lot of careers, and not necessarily winning, but participating and playing at a high level, getting to that point. So you have fun, travel safely, my friend. We'll be back here on Monday with some post-mortem of what happened over the weekend, and get ourselves ready. And if we have anything else to report on what's going on with the Major League Baseball teams, we will pass that along to you. Otherwise, I hope that everybody has a wonderful weekend. Go get your chips ready and all of your soft drinks, and get ready for hunkering down and watching. If you can believe it, football starting tonight and going all the way through Sunday and into Monday. And you got all kinds of great football to watch. Every one of those games are going to be entertaining, and of course the college playoffs is going to be entertaining. So anyway, Matt, travel safely, and everybody else have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you again on Monday.